All right, welcome back to another episode of Rapid Results with Andrew Weiss. This is episode 4 with the one and only Kurt Weiss. Yes, my father. He actually inspired me to be an entrepreneur, and so I figured what better person to bring on than Kurt Weiss himself. So, Dad, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you, Andrew. I want to add that you've done this very professionally. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to help you out. You helped me set this up on my computer, and you gave me a format to think about. I think you've set this up very well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And fun fact, too, for those tuning in, and we'll see the video version of this. He's still in my childhood home as well. So that back shelf used to be covered of all my sports trophies, but we'll get those back eventually. But with that said, I put the point of today's interview is to help inspire more people to become full-time entrepreneurs. You did it you were a full-time entrepreneur by the time you were 26, right?
Well, 24. Don't shortchange me.
24. Wow. So became a full-time entrepreneur at 24. So we'll go through some questions, kind of learn about the story of how you got to where you are today, learn about the details, and make sure that hopefully with your advice, other people can thrive in the future. So with that said, one of the first questions is tell us about the town you grew up in and your professional journey since middle school.
Yes. I grew up in a small town in the middle of Oregon, Monmouth. There were a lot of small town values there. There was a college that my dad taught at, and my mom was a teacher also.
What was the town called?
Monmouth.
And what was the population?
When I was there, it was closer to 3,500. I think it's over 5,000 now.
Big leap. Oh my gosh. So you grew up in a small town. Were you that kid who would sell gum at recess, or did you do any business entrepreneur endeavors in middle school or high school?
Let me go back and clarify. It was a Monmouth Independence, and they had an equal population also. So 3,500 for them, 5,000 now. So the community's over 10,000 now, Monmouth and Independence together. You know, that goes back several years, Andrew. It's been quite a while. And I believe, yes, I did buy some stuff maybe at the local grocery store and then sell it to a classmate or two to make a little extra on the side.
Okay. And I know that both grandpa and grandma, they were both grandma was a piano teacher, grandpa was English teacher, right?
Yeah, he was primarily English, humanities, and then administrator at the college.
So when did you know that, being a full-time entrepreneur and working outside the 9 to 5 was even possible, even a reality for you?
Yes. So it was rather at the end of college when it really came to fruition. My parents were education, get good grades in high school, so you get accepted to colleges. And then through college and your diploma, you can go out and get a good job and earn a living and lead a happy life. So I went along with that, and I thought about joining the service for a while, but that was like mid-college for me. And then, there was something internally in me that said, if I join the service, I'll be set at making X amount of dollars over X amount of time. And I felt more confidence in myself that I could make more not going into the service.
And wasn't there an external reason for you not joining the service too? Because for those who don't know, Kurt is 6'5", and so didn't you get external pressure from your dad at the time as well about joining the service?
My dad was one of four brothers. All of his brothers joined the service. He was the only one that did not. And one of the things my mom said to me was, "Oh, honey, you know, the tall people always get shot in the service first."
Yeah. So I'm sure that probably scared you away enough too.
Well,
Well, that makes sense.
I thought walking around the campus where I was taller than everybody, I thought, yeah, I probably would get shot first. But
Yeah.
opted not to, and glad I didn't.
Okay. Um, and then so kind of going back in reverse order a little bit, I'm an entrepreneur as well, and obviously I got my inspiration for you. And I feel like entrepreneurship has a lot of ups and downs. It really is like a roller coaster. I know people. My girlfriend Sleesh and I were talking about this today about how there's the dream of stability and security for some people, but also that dream might also not also be reality. Based on the conversation. So one of the questions is to help prepare yourself for the trials and difficulties of entrepreneurship. Was there anything in your life when you're like, wow, this sucks, but then you found a way to overcome it even before you became an entrepreneur?
You know, I think everyone has that journey where you go through stages of, you know, I'm going to have to endure this. I'm going to have to suffer a little bit, but in doing so, that suffering will end, and I'll end up in a better place. Um, Certainly, if you're looking at the um, the behavior or the character or the personality of an entrepreneur, you can't be someone who falls off a horse and doesn't want to get back on. You have to be resilient. You're right. There are going to be ups and downs, ebbs and flows, and some people can't sleep at night knowing that they're risking more than what they're comfortable with. Um, I hope this isn't a sore spot for you, but when I was on one of those lower portions of the roller coaster after being on the high one for a while, and I was looking at, and most of my credit cards were maxed out, and I had mortgaged my house to the limit. And I just knew if I hung on a little bit more, I could turn the corner. It would start doing well, and I could pay everything off and be off to the races. Some people can't handle that. And I started off saying, I hope this isn't a sore point for you, because your mom was one of them. I mean, when I was close to being financially ruined, you know, she kind of thought, I better jump ship. And we never should have prepared her for that a little bit better. I could have communicated better on that I had high hopes I was going to come through it and it wasn't going to be that bad. But that's an example of not everyone's cut out for it. I mean, if you're in debt and you're risking financial ruin and you can't sleep at night, it's not for you. If you can't get back on that horse, if you can't, if you're not comfortable, don't do it. Don't stress your life and ruin your life for taking risks that you're uncomfortable with. It's not worth it.
Well, and I definitely believe that character and resilience can be a learned skill. And I'm curious, even before you became an entrepreneur, like if you're okay sharing, like, did you ever get bullied in school, or did you ever like get a D in a class and you had to figure out, you know what, I'm not going to accept that D. I'm going to turn that around into an A. Was there anything like before you became an entrepreneur that you think helped show your character and your resilience to help prepare you for being an entrepreneur even before you became one?
Well, all those things happened, but I can't think of. Yeah, I got bullied. Yeah, I got a bad grade. Um, but how do I want to put that? I just always wanted to go forward, and later on in or mid high school or so, they started thinking, boy, Kurt's got a lot of drive. He's got a lot of energy or ambition. Even though I got a D or I was bullied, you know, I just wanted to. I never wanted to dwell on anything negative. I think that's a pretty interesting point. And upon reflection, that I wanted to focus on being positive uh, throughout those social years of high school and college. There was a lot of woe is me people. Woe is me. I didn't want to be one of those people.
So you always believed in the message of positivity, and I know I like the quote, and some people misinterpret it, but I remember reading a quote somewhere of like a famous tennis player, and he only had one arm, and he likes to say, "I don't know if a positive attitude works, but a negative attitude does." And what I take from that is that if you get in a negative attitude, it's going to take you down, it's going to derail you, it's going to put you in a dark place, even though like the positive attitude's guaranteed. But essentially, the way I took it is like anything's better than a negative attitude, essentially.
Anything's better than a negative attitude. Yeah, yeah. I mean, in those younger years, you asked me how were there any keys that developed that. That was a big one, because back there in those younger years, you're kind of creating yourself. You're kind of saying, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be like? What kind of character or personality am I going to project to other people? So yes, yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
quote.
yeah, I like that. And I'm curious too. I know obviously, my grandparents, your parents were both teachers. They believed in education. And just if you were to speak objectively and trying to be unbiased, what would you tell people who are thinking about going to college or not going to college, but they know they want to be an entrepreneur someday? They know they want to get into owning their own business someday. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I'm a well. Well, you told me to be objective and unbiased. I don't know if I am or not, because I came from an education family, but I recommend it highly. I think it's very useful, and I think it's very helpful, and I think it helps you lead a fuller, richer life to have some education under your belt. And I feel that it helps you out in areas that you don't understand at the time, but later on, the things you learn, the way you learn, learning how to learn, helps you out down the road in ways that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Interesting. Was there a specific class or anything about your college experience that you're like, oh yeah, this definitely helped with me being a successful entrepreneur? Anything about that?
Um, yes, it was kind of a conglomerate, if you will, of several classes that kind of helped me realize there are all types of people out there. It could have been literature or philosophy, but all those people you are people, and they have different beliefs and different ideas, and I there's several of those classes that helped me get along with those people instead of being abrasive and saying no, I don't believe in what you believe in, or it helped me listen, understand a little bit more, and in some cases tolerate what they what these other beliefs were, and that helps in an entrepreneur ways, is that you will run into I don't know, bankers, insurance people, deal makers, property owners that have a different a view on life, and if you are able to understand where they're coming from and communicate with them, uh, and not be abrasive, they may be more willing to do a deal that benefits you than they would be with the next guy. So in that sense, yeah, college helps a ton.
No, makes sense. I love that. All right. So thanks for telling us about your background and your story of so kind of going through the timeline of Kurt Weiss. So now we talked earlier in this interview about, I mean, it's still mind blowing, crazy to me that you didn't even know that entrepreneurship is a possibility. Sounds like, and I know you like to tell me the story till you read the book. And so tell us about that. So we know that here's Kurt Weiss. He's been bullied, but he can handle it. He's got a bad grade, but he can handle it. He's resilient. He has a positive attitude, and he doesn't know entrepreneurship is possible. And then he discovers the book. So tell us that story and tell us what officially started the superhero journey for you.
Well, that was a big part of it, but a lot of it's within you before you get started. But anyway, my goal through education was what my parents preached to me. Get through college, get your diploma, start your life, and get a good job and work and lead a happy life. So I listened to them and got through college, and then my dad didn't think I was mature enough or grown up enough, probably, and said, "Hey, here's a chance for you to go to Europe for 3 months on a work visa." So I got all dressed up and headed towards the airport, and I had some time to kill, and there was like a Barnes and Noble superstore, and I naturally gravitated towards the business financial section and started looking at all the headlines. And yeah, there was one book that said how to make $1 million on borrowed money, and I thought, oh, that's me. I don't have any money. I'd have to borrow it, and I'd love to make $1 million.
Yeah.
And I needed something to read on the flight, so I got it.
Mm-hmm. And so yeah, so tell us what happened next. I mean, this is like I feel like this is the superhero journey where like you fall into your vat of acid and you emerge like with these superpowers and super skills. So this vat of acid is like this book. So tell us what happened next in the journey and how it led you to becoming a full-time entrepreneur by 24.
Well, it really wasn't a vat of acid that you fall into. It was putting on words some of the things you felt and some of the internal feelings and emotions that you had prior. And the book talked about a bunch of different ways where you could make money without and starting very little or no money at all, just through a little legwork or phone calls or research to get going. And I kept thinking, well, there was a bunch of things in that book that I could have started right away, but it made me think of the bigger thing I got out of the book was that you really needed an investor to start a bigger business and make good money instead of making a little bit of money on the side here and there. So it quickly became the goal to find an investor to do a deal that was big enough to be and have a lot of blue sky.
And so yeah, we'd love to hear what that looks like, because I mentioned in an earlier interview with Salisha Thomas, my girlfriend, is that and there's a book called 12 Rules of Life, like Jordan Peterson, by Jordan Peterson. He talks about how humans are kind of like lobsters, and he gives the analogy that as a lobster, like there's scarce resources, there's scarce mates to hang out with, but then once you find like a good location, you get all the resources, you get all the mates, everything is taken care of. But when you're starting out in the beginning, it's very difficult to kind of climb through all the muck and climb through everything. But then once you get that first tier of success, you're like, oh, this is easy. This is awesome. And so tell us about that first tier of success. I know you're a manager at a pizza restaurant, and then you, well, did you read the book first, or were you a manager already when you had read the book?
It was, I read the book before I became a manager of the King's Table in Roseburg. Yeah.
Okay. So your vision before even becoming manager at King's Table was still to own your own restaurant, even before you started being a manager then?
Well, I just knew that I wanted a business. I didn't think it had to be a restaurant for a while. In fact, I actually wanted to get out of the restaurant business because I started washing bottles at 14 at A&W. Boy, that root beer was good.
I bet. Yeah.
I got through some junior high school, and part-time through college, working at A&W. So when I got out of college, I didn't want to have anything to do with the restaurant business. I had enough.
Yeah.
But then there was probably something in the book that said, if you want to have a better chance at being successful, get into a business that you know something about.
Mhm.
Turns out I knew a lot about restaurants.
And tell us about that journey of finding investors, because I know that's starting to be a bigger and hotter topic. So there's a great book that got released recently by Alex Hormozy called $100 Million Offers. And he takes a quote from a billionaire who says it's actually easier to build a huge company than it is a tiny company, because when you're building a big company, you have all the best talent, all the best resources, all the best investors who want to be support it because it's this big vision. Versus if you're trying to build a small company, like you said, it's harder to ask for. Well, the other analogy is it's easier to ask for $100,000 than it is to ask for $10,000, just because. And also, there's a book by Abraham Hicks, and basically they're saying it takes the same amount of energy to manifest a castle for yourself as it is to manifest a button. And so going back to your example of bringing in the investors, how did you go about bringing in investors to start your own business when you're just manager making probably what, a minimum wage and a half, like nothing crazy salary wise, right?
Oh yeah. When the time I calculated my salary, it was below minimum wage.
Jeez. That's not good. Yeah.
Well, I just made a list of 4 or 5 potential investors, business owners that were successful in our community, and so one of them, or they all owned different businesses. So whenever I was in the business or around, and I saw them and knew who they were, always said hi and how are you doing, and then after out of college, then I'd start asking them, hey, would you have any interest in doing this business? Would you have any interest in doing this business? Of course, there's a lot of no's, but you persevere, you keep going. If that's what you want to do, you keep asking.
So that's interesting on the relationship side of things. I like what you said about, one of the things college taught you was the importance of like being nice, being kind, not being abrasive. And it sounds like you were really intentional that before asking anything of these people, you said, hey, I'm Kurt, nice to meet you. You'd say hi a few times, and then you'd set up a meeting. Or is there anyone that you said, hey, I know you're a lawyer, I know you're a doctor, I have a business opportunity for you, are you interested? Like, or did you make sure to like, no, I'm only going to establish a relationship first?
I'd say you'd have to read the room.
Mm-hmm.
If one of those uh, doctors or attorneys or came in and said, I got extra money. any of your friends starting any businesses? I think you have to read the room. Up at the business ownership level, everyone's got a different attitude or belief, and also they're always in different positions in their lives, in their businesses. So maybe they're going through a lot of stress at the time, but maybe they're at the top of the roller coaster and they want to diversify a little bit and start something else. So read the room, read your audience.
Well, and I feel like, and maybe I'm going to the wrong rooms. Maybe I'm a millennial where all my millennial peers feel broken and debt all the time. But I feel like no one comes in and says, "Hey, I have a bunch of money. Who can I invest in?" Like that. I've never met anyone who brags about having extra money, wanting to invest in something. Am I doing something wrong, being in the wrong rooms, or what? What am I missing there?
You might be in the wrong rooms. Clearly, I think that, once you start uh, feeling like you want to be an entrepreneur and start your own business, you have to set yourself up to be in the right position at the right time. I don't know if they still have it anymore, but the business opportunity sections in the newspaper, I read those every day. And then every Sunday, when they double that up in the business opportunity sections, I'd read those all the time. And then when I learned that buying a property would be a good deal from a bank who just repossessed one, if you can buy a property for them before they have to enlist a realtor to sell it for them, they save money, they get it off their books. You probably get a good deal. That's so calling banks, looking for the deals they have. Um, Looking at the county foreclosure lists. I'd look at those all the time. I would look for good deals all the time. And all these places I'd have, I'd be looking, and then it gets to be a law of averages as you start to look. And I started visiting places like this is good, and this is not good. I couldn't do that one, but uh, you have to put yourself in position. You have to. It's kind of habit forming where you have to build that habit of always looking at the business opportunity section. You have to build that habit of always looking at the foreclosure list. You have to build a habit, and you have to build a network of people like the the underwriters at a bank. Who cares to get to know the teller at a bank, but if you get to know the underwriter or the person that signs off on the loan or the person that has control of the repossessed properties, that, and you can take them out to coffee or pop or a beer, and then read their room, how they're doing. Those are the kinds of habits you have to look for. I mean, the world's constantly changing. Those things are kind of what worked for me and kept my mind going. There's probably different avenues now, but I bet a lot of them are the same too.
That's interesting. So obviously there's two sections of people. There's people who have money ready to invest, and there are people who are willing to put in all the work, but they need the money to operate their dream and make it a reality, essentially. So it sounds like if you're in category A, where you have a bunch of money looking to invest, you should look in business opportunity sections. You should email family and friends. You should, it sounds like, yeah, you should be smart about who you ask, like, hey, who has opportunities? But if you're someone who doesn't have any money, but you do want to create something, you need money, you're saying, okay, well, take out the local underwriter from the bank. I don't know. I know one strategy, I think from a book you read, that you said, get a membership at country clubs and just meet people that way. Like, yeah, if you're in category B where you don't have money, but you need investors to get your business going, what's you think is the fastest, best way to go about that, to get people to invest in you?
It's not I know that what the title of your show is, Rapid Investor or Rapid Entrepreneur.
Rapid results. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think you have to, in your area or in your community or in the industry, if you will, whatever you want to do, you should make a list of the people that you think can help you. And then when you do find a good opportunity on the other side of your habit forming, searching for something, then you have something to present to somebody who on your other list that says be interested in investing in something. Then you have and you believe in it yourself, and so you're always looking for a good opportunity, but you have a list of people you can take these opportunities to. So it might take more than rapid entrepreneurship. You have to have a habit. I think if you can establish the habit, if you can rapidly establish a habit. You probably know more about this than me. I mean, how long does it take to start a habit? 2 weeks?
Well, I mean, I have my own opinion on that, because I have my accountability groups that gets you a guaranteed habit right from the get-go if you believe in that habit hard enough. But I know that the science is different on that. Like, some people say it's 20 days, some people say it's 90 days. So that's a whole other conversation. It goes deeper than a set amount of days. Because I mean, the other thing too, a habit book I read, he's saying, for example, if you forget to brush your teeth for a day, you better not forget the next day. Otherwise that habit's officially broken. Otherwise, but so like that's a whole conversation. But I agree, like the importance of daily routines and progress towards what you want is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a goal preparation. My goal would be to do a deal with one of these investors that I have on listed over here. and my goal would be to find a deal through these resources over here, and then you, being the entrepreneur, bring them together.
Yes. Yeah.
You
Well,
know, I bet
and
some of those deals can be done. I bet some of those deals can be done rapidly. Where, yeah, if you set yourself up, I found a deal. I found this guy. Maybe you could put something together rapidly.
yeah, no, I definitely believe there's, yeah, hence the purpose of the show is to, why waste time, effort, and resources when some people have done it faster than you and the same amount of quality, essentially. So I definitely believe in rapid problem solving. And yes, there's the Sherlock Holmes brain. There's a book I read about how to think like Sherlock Holmes. And a lot of people fall in that heuristic learning trap where they use short-term thinking on something, which gives them the wrong answer. But sometimes you do need to apply long-term thinking. And Sherlock Holmes got so good that he was able to apply his long-term thinking quickly. But it takes practice and time. But yes, the answer is yes. The point of this show is looking for rapid results. How can you get where you want to go as quickly as possible? Whether it's making money, whether it's fitness, of course, healthily, legally, ethically, and so help them to make sure that other people don't make the same mistakes that you made in your journey, essentially. So that's the purpose. And all right, so we're at the stage of your journey where you've been through all your school, you picked up this book. The book said, look for investors. You wrote down top people who you want to get to invest in you. You had built relationships with them. You reached out to them. And then finally, one of them said yes. And you were able to start your own pizza restaurant. And tell us about that story. Because I know there's some, what's the word, sub letters or small print about what came with that deal.
Oh, small print. Well, it was a high school buddy of mine, his dad. I was out of college, back from a year in Europe and working at King's Table, and I would still hang out with some of my high school and college buddies, and he was one of them, and his dad was one of the business owners in the region, and he wanted to. I think his position, of course, was to get something going for his son, and I wanted him to invest in something else for me, and then it kind of clicked, like, hey, we could do something together, and I'll be forever grateful for him having the confidence and being able to take the risk to put two young 24-year-olds up in a franchise business and rolling the dice and risking a lot. But turns out, I picked out a good one, or we picked out a good one, and we got it in the right stages, and it worked out from day one, which surprised a lot of people that it did. And I think everyone's got their own opinion, but I think it's probably because I worked at A&W all those years and had some a lot of restaurant experience at best.
And King's Table too. Obviously, the King's Table managing a pizza buffet restaurant transition right over to you owning a pizza restaurant, right?
That came very helpful when the pizza restaurant was converting from to more full-time buffet. Then I did have that experience also to help out and understand how that was all going to go. So, our particular restaurant could have had probably a smoother conversion than others without the experience.
Yeah, and I know that obviously you're a great problem solver. You know how to put deals together. And I'm just and you came from a town of total like 7,000 people, and you were still able to find someone, quote unquote, in your network to invest in the business. And I'm just curious that sometimes people think, oh, like I would start this business, but there's no one in my network who has the money to invest in me, or no one I can meet near me will invest in me. Like, Let's say you met, let's say there's a kid in a town of like 100 people or 200 people, and he feels like everyone around him is working minimum wage jobs, can't invest in him or her. I'm just curious, like if you have any advice for that kind of person who feels like no one in their circle would invest in them, but they know that they have the experience, they have the skills to start something, have to be successful. What would you say to them to have them go out and find an investor to dream big?
Come on, we all know the answer to that. Expand your circle, go beyond. I guess the other thing would be, just work harder than the next person next to you to give yourself a leg up, some advantages. Know that you have to work hard in that smaller group to rise to the top.
I like that. So expand your circle, work hard, and results should come faster. I love that. And sorry, so going back to present tense of Kurt to you got your successful bit, or your business was going great from day one. So tell us more about your asset and wealth building, because anyone could, I mean, not anyone could like save up their minimum wage job to eventually open their own restaurant on their own dime. But that might take 10, 20, maybe even 30 years. You're like, you know what? I'm 24 years old. I'm going to get the skill sets. I'm going to shortcut that, get an investor to help me do that. Oh, and reversing a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about bad debt? I mean, good debt versus, well, let's talk about good debt, because obviously you had to go into debt to start up this pizza business. So can you tell us about the mindset and what you learned about that?
Well, debt is very interesting. The way it's taught to people, there's two clear schools of thought on that. One is debt's no good. Don't go into debt. It's just bad for you. You'll get buried. You're a slave if you're in debt to whoever you owe money to. The other one is not all debt is bad. If you can borrow money on a mortgage at 2.5% today, and the property appreciates at 3% a year, you're making 0.5% in appreciation. And then if you do any improvements to it, you're going to make more money. So what's wrong with that debt?
Yeah, and can you give us a sample example? And you don't have to use real numbers, but let's say you borrowed $100,000 for your pizza business. Can you give us a breakdown of like what you would owe and what you'd be making on that $100,000 debt that you brought on for yourself?
It was basically what I told you before. The interest on the debt was less than the profits generated by the loan.
So I'm saying, yeah. So if you say, for example, that your loan, your investment was $100,000, and you had to pay back, let's say $10,000. Well, you obviously, so you had like you had 4 years to pay back that loan or something like that, right?
Those loan structures come in different ways. Yeah, in my case, it was a favorable loan structure, and we exceeded our profit goals, and so the investors got paid back very quickly, and there was a lot left over.
Nice. And I'm just saying, for the initial person, so you get like, because a lot of people like look at $100,000 in debt and they immediately go, oh no. And so I'm just trying to make this tangible, that let's say, for example, excuse me, you get a $100,000 loan, you're confident that you can make, let's say, $15,000 a month in profit, or in, or even in revenue, but you have to pay back like a $5,000 a month towards that 100,000. Like, I guess the question is, like, even if you had to pay back 5,000 a month and you're only making $6,000 a month, and so you're left, well, obviously you want to have money left over. So I guess in your opinion though, like, what is the amount that makes it worth it? It's like, do you have to decide like, okay, I can live off $1,000 a month versus $2,000 a month? Like, even if you had only been making $7,000 a month and you owed $5,000 back towards that loan, would it be worth it? Or what is the ratios where it has to be worth it, essentially?
Everyone has their personal hurdle. Everyone has their financial hurdle that they have to pay based on where they live, what their housing is, what their transportation is, how much a gallon of milk is, how you live your lifestyle is your hurdle. So you want to make the amount that covers your hurdle. Now you said $100,000 a couple of times. What if you researched and you knew, found 10 people that owned shopping centers that were worth 10 million each? And the shopping center owner was earning 5% on his $10 million shopping center investment. And his debt was 4% on that shopping center. So he's making 1% on that $10 million investment. He might look at that. He might look at that and say, I'm only making 1% on it while I'm tying up $10 million. That is a bad deal. I want to sell this for 10 million and put my 10 million on somewhere else that can make more than 1%. And then Andrew comes along and says, well, if you finance me on this, I'll be owning this shopping center for 10 million because I like 1% off of 10 million.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I think that's a great example, once again, of like, why not think big on something?
Well, you're in New York too. So maybe there's apartment complexes, or there's senior care centers, or there's large real estate buildings that some people are not making what they want to make on it. And you're at one of your galas and you start talking to somebody and he goes, yeah, I've got this one apartment building tied up $20 million. I'm only making 1% on it. I wish I could do something else. And you say, hey, maybe I can help you out.
I like that. I like that.
They're not all going to say yes. But
yeah,
if they, for example, they could co-sign a loan for you for whatever debt they have on the property, and then they could carry back a note for their equity in the property. So you get in for free with him co-signing the note that he owes and carrying back a note with you for the rest of the money.
I like that. I like that.
He gets all his equity back. He stays on the, yeah, I mean, that's possible.
Yeah, it makes sense. And so this is a great example of the wealth building too. So obviously, you can do this without even getting started in entrepreneurship. Like it sounds like this could be your start in entrepreneurship if someone was starting from scratch. But going back into that, so when you're at your journey where you're thriving as a business owner, owning this pizza restaurant, and you're starting to get more cash, and you're like, okay, how can I start to invest this cash into other opportunities? How do you go about, as someone with cash, with investment money, looking to invest in money that will grow your money? What are your strategies for that, for accumulating assets to grow your wealth? And I believe you said you reached 7 figures in assets by 30 years old, which is very good. So once you start getting that money and that cash, how do you go about investing the right way with it?
People will find you. People will say, hey, do you have any extra money? You should buy this property over here. It's a low value. I don't know. People, if they hear you have money, some of them will seek you out, and you end up having to pick and choose the best deals to go through. Or you let a realtor know, for example, hey, I'd be interested in a commercial building. And then they, however you want to diversify on that. How do you go about doing that? You should have a plan that I shorted myself on education a little bit. I kind of skipped right through college for the most part. But if I would have, sometimes I think that if I would have gone to a higher education and been accepted to a Harvard Business School, I could have learned how to put together a larger corporation or put together a larger business in an industry and been more national or even international. I'm good in my community. I'm good at the area that I'm in with the smaller deals, but education would help you get to the regional, national, international business levels.
Well, and speaking of education, yeah, tell us about some of your entrepreneurial failures after starting that pizza business, and your shortcomings, and what were some examples of things that really humbled you that made you go, "Wow, this is a lot tougher than I thought it would be." Yeah, before
Well,
the
there's
2000, I should say.
well, I have a lot of shortcomings, but there's been a few deals where I've fronted money. Like I was going to be a 50% investor on an air show, and I put all the money in, and the air show failed, and I lost it all.
How much did you lose, if you don't mind sharing?
I think that was a $50,000 one.
And that was like at the time, like would you say like 10% of your wealth or 20% of your wealth? Like how big a risk were you really taking with it?
Most of my disposable income at the time. But that's just hubris. I thought anything I invested in would turn to gold, but it doesn't. I didn't know anything about air shows. Again, you should invest in something you know something about. I didn't know anything about air shows, but the guy said it was going to be a big return.
Well, and so tell us more about, yeah, investing in the things you know about. I mean, obviously you can't be a real estate expert right out of the bat, but obviously real estate's made you a lot of money. You were an expert in the restaurant pizza business. I know your current investment has turned out pretty well, that you didn't know anything about that industry. But yeah, tell us about the differentiation between investing in what you know about versus what you don't know about versus what you're willing to take a risk on, which is what you're not willing to take a risk on. I guess the question is, and obviously maybe there is no answer to this, but to the best of your ability, how can people take the most calculated risk possible without just tossing a coin saying, "I hope this works," kind of thing?
Well, and I've already said that you should go into business with having some knowledge about it, or there's a couple different ways. One of them is invest in a person, have faith and confidence in the person. You've probably heard that before. Invest in the person, not the deal. And so you don't have to have a lot of intricate knowledge if you believe in this person, if you've heard them talk and you feel like they have an intricate understanding of the business that they're going into. That's usually a better bet. Another one, I know I've told you this too, is it the Howard Hughes story. I mean, he wanted to get into the airline business, so he put a hat on and applied for a job and went to work for an airline carrying bags while he learned the business before he invested in it. It's possible he may have said, "This business is terrible. I'm not getting into this," but no, he continued with it. That's it. That's another way, get involved, take a job in it if you have the time and the financial wherewithal to do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And for those who don't know who Howard Hughes is, he actually created was it called the Gray Goose, or not, or the Golden Goose?
The Spruce Goose.
Spruce Goose.
It's right here in McMinnville.
Yes, the Spruce Goose. And so he owned one of the largest
Goose.
Yeah, he owns one of the largest airplane companies in the country at the time, right?
TWA. He was Trans World Airlines. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. So I like that advice, that the importance of investing into the person before you invest into a business. Talk to someone within the business to hear their insights, hear the opportunities. Because I know a lot of people like saving time, and so I'm sure a lot of people aren't Howard Hughes, where they're able to start work at 15 or 16 years old and be ready to invest by 25 or whatever his journey was. But that definitely makes sense. And so yeah, so we'll keep transitioning here. So as someone who, you've been able to keep a roof over your family's head for, 28 plus years. We're curious. So what gets you fired up every day to, kind of seize the day to do your carpe diem?
Uh, I like to stay busy doing things. I like to, what can I do today? I believed in playing hard and working hard. And every morning it's like, oh, am I going to go to work today and work hard, or am I going to go play and play hard today? What am I going to do today?
Mm-hmm.
I think I had a good blend. Some people would say I partied too much, or uh, had too many activities, or basketball or golf or vacation, and I didn't work hard enough. But I think everyone has to find their own balance, and you get a feel for it as your life journey goes on. Am I working too much? Am I playing too much? Where would I like to be more? Um, I think if I would not have played so hard, I certainly would have advanced my business and financial uh, station in life much more, much more. But I mean, that's part of your journey, is have a good time doing it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Enjoy
Uh,
what you do.
Yeah, and that is kind of another question too is, yeah, how do you manage those relationships? Because I know that is a sore point for a lot of people. Is a lot of people work too hard. They don't know their own family at home, and they don't spend time with friends because they are working so hard. So is that just another read the room situation? We just kind of have to be aware and self reflect, or was there a method that you used? Okay, I could play a little bit more. Okay, I could work a little bit harder. Like how did you measure those?
Oh, sorry, I had no method. But I can tell you going into it that I initially worked hard trying to keep personal and business life separate. But as your journey progresses, a lot of times those things blend together.
And how do you feel about that?
In a lot of cases, it was fun to go on a business trip and be able to take some family and do business and vacation at the same time.
And so being able to do that is kind of cool. So having that flexibility to work from anywhere, but also making sure being present with your business and present with your family accordingly. And like that, you can't be having your family next to you while you're on your computer working away, right? So you have to like separate those more or less.
Yes, more or less, correct. Yeah, yeah. It's hard
And
to, maybe golf is a good analogy. I mean, if you're out on the golf course, it takes a lot of focus for a novice like me to swing the club and think about all the different hinges and hooks and follow throughs. And if you're constantly getting a phone call from your family member, you want to focus over here, and then you focus over here, then you focus over here, and you're not giving the golf game your proper focus, so you end up with some errant shots. And the same token, you're not giving your family the proper focus because you're thinking about your golf game. So it makes sense to separate them, but when as life goes on, they usually blend together.
yeah, that makes sense. All right, so just want to double check that we're doing it all correctly. So we talked about how to get funding, talk about how to start your own business while still being young, talked about good debt, talked about finding good investment opportunities, growing those opportunities, understanding you're going to take some hits along the way, but it sounds like you've always had a pretty strong belief in yourself, knowing that you can figure things out and work it out. Where does that come from? Like you said, you've gone on the roller coaster. You've been through a lot of downs. Like, how did you know that you would rise again and go through a good run after a really bad run?
Oh, you never really know. It's more instinct. It's more your personality, and you have to know who you are. It's important to know who you are. Are you someone that bounces back, or are you someone that says, "Okay, I'm going to adjust"? Sometimes both work, but you have to know who you are. You have to know what you're capable of. You have to know what your stress limits are. You have to know. You have to have a good understanding of yourself.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, we have a few questions left here, and maybe you just said it, but if people happen to just ignore this entire interview, what's one takeaway you want someone to have when it comes to being an entrepreneur or being a successful entrepreneur?
One takeaway, it's set your goals and start those habits that you want yourself to have. Know who you are before you set your goals, and good luck.
I like it. Good luck. And any final pieces of advice you want to give to people who want to grab life by the horns, maybe outside of entrepreneurship, but people who have a lot of gusto to life and just want to take life by the horns? Any pieces of advice you have for that crowd?
What do I want to say about that? Let's see. Backing up, to tell people what to get out of entrepreneur rapid success is that habit forming. Figure out how to start habits. Maybe you can help with that with some people, Andrew. Get them in the habits of looking at the areas that they want to grow in and learn about. Get them in the habits of tracking people that could help them with their goals. That would be the who, not the what. And get them in the habit of educating themselves, learning about the industry that they want to be in, so they can make good decisions when the opportunity presents itself. And then the people who want to grab life by the horns, those people are already charging ahead. Those people already have ambition and motivation. For them, I would, say that integrity matters. Telling the truth matters. You're more likely to create a successful business relationship if you're always honest and straightforward, and people come to look at you and say, yeah, that this guy is honest. He may not know what he's talking about, but he's honest.
I like that. And then final two questions here. When you look back at your life, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want Kurt Weiss to be remembered by?
Oh, that it's not a single plane, or it's not a single direction. That there's a lot of facets to life, and that perhaps I balanced having a good time with creating wealth through entrepreneurship. That I knew how to have a good time, and I knew how to make money.
I like that. I like
And
that.
that's for your show here because it's talking about entrepreneurship. Because I think it you and I as family, and you know how our family is, and you've seen other families operate too. I think family is very important too.
Yeah, 100%. I know, I definitely like the Weiss dynamics, and my girlfriend Sleisha likes to commenting on her appreciating our family dynamic as well. That we at least pretend to love each other, which is hopefully a good sign. But yeah, so yeah. Final thing is yeah. Thanks again for coming on today. Anything else you wish I had asked you, or anything else you want to touch on to help inspire people or give them tangible or intangible advice on yeah, what you want to say to people in general looking for rapid results in their life? And you can take it toward entrepreneurship or anything. Is anything else you want to talk about or you wish that I'd asked you about?
Well, I think you're a fountain of good ideas, Andrew, and I think that you absorb information, and you are able to share it with people that in terms of helping them achieve their goals. So, I would say, pay attention to Andrew's blogs and information, and that I look forward with high hopes and great expectations that what Andrew provides is going to help a lot of people in the future.
Thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate that. And once again, of course, you're the one who helped inspire all that and helped drive my entrepreneurship dream in the first place. And like you said too, I am for those who don't know, I'm a business and sales coach. I'm really good at helping people make more money, and I do run accountability programs and groups. So feel free to send me a private message or direct message. Love to connect more on the topic. And with that said, that concludes this episode on how to be a millionaire by 30 years old with Kurt Weiss. And thank you all for joining, listening in, and we'll see you next week. See you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.
No problem. Got you.